The House of Bishops is that part of our governance structure in the Episcopal Church that's composed only of bishops, the other house being the House of Deputies, which includes lay and clerical members. The House of Bishops meets twice a year in years when there is not a general convention, basically to build community and to have conversation and prayer together as we discern the theological state of this church. We're gathering in New Orleans this year, both to be of support to the people of New Orleans and the Gulf Coast of Mississippi, and we've also invited, it was a unanimous resolution of invitation from the House, we've invited the Archbishop of Canterbury and the Standing Committee of the Anglican Consultative Council. These are representatives from across the Anglican Communion who are going to gather with us to have conversation about current conflicts within the Communion. We think it's important that people come and be with us to hear our perspective, and that we have the opportunity to hear perspective of some other parts of the Anglican Communion. The Church of England was formed in a time of conflict, and the reality is that the Anglican Communion, the Church of England, the various parts of the Communion have never been without conflict. It's part of our DNA. It's a sign that we are engaged with challenging issues in the church and in the larger society, and it is really necessary to our growth. When people talk about schism, it's, I think, excessive. Our relationship with the Anglican Communion as a whole, and indeed the relationships within the Anglican Communion, are in a time of some flux and development. I view this as a necessary stage of growth, that we are able to be honest about who we are. We are 38 individual provinces in the Anglican Communion, and we're radically different. We hold in common some patterns of worship. We hold in common recognizing the Archbishop of Canterbury as a spiritual leader. We do not have in common really a governance structure. The Anglican Consultative Council meets once every 2 or 3 years to talk about issues of common concern. They are the only body within the Communion that's been officially recognized by each of the provinces of the Communion, and they do have a constitution, but they do relatively little in terms of making policy for the Communion. So we're here to have a conversation. We're here to be together, to learn more about each other, and to hear each other's concerns and joys.